I got both bottles of sangria right here, so we're good to go.
All right, we'll let the broadcasters up. Yeah, we look like we're good. Yeah, we're good on that end. Yeah, we're good on both ends. So you guys, if you're listening, you can catch us on Twitch or you can catch us on YouTube. This is a special episode of First and Framerates, not necessarily in the order that we normally do it. This would be episode 107, but since it's the 31st of December, I just said just put it in the year in review. We'll talk about some things that happened this year, sports-wise, starting with January, anything that comes to any of our minds, and also the chat, definitely. Whatever comes to your guys' mind, something that we may miss, we could discuss that as well. Also, I got a lot of things that are I ain't gonna say a lot. I got a few things that I want to fix as far as the podcast and getting things a little bit more streamlined for 2020. And I think it's just going to work out for everybody who's listening. Main thing is just getting it a little bit more accessible to everybody. As far as I'm working on getting this on Google Podcasts, and I'm still waiting for Spotify to say something, but they haven't said anything yet. So I may just resubmit the podcast to them.
That's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and they haven't done anything. You know, that Stitcher, Podbeam. I'm trying to go to like maybe 7 different avenues, but we'll get into that as well. We didn't have a podcast since prior to Christmas, so I know it may be a lot that has gone on between us three. I guess we can just go with the intros with that. Bills, what's been going on with you for the past couple weeks?
Honestly, mostly the same. I mean, I've been just working on my music, doing a lot of covers and all that. Got rid of my video games. Pretty much every single one, every single console, everything.
Okay, Apex.
You know, I'm not calling it the devil, but you know, I did get rid of them. I feel like they're a bit of a distraction. There were some things I could have accomplished this year that I feel like maybe video games took a little bit too much of my time. You know, and with the new consoles coming next year, I'm really not missing anything. So, I'll take this next however many months and get my career together. And I'd much rather have a label meeting than, oh, look at me, I have an Xbox One X. So,
some people can take notes.
Right, I'm seriously thinking about playing The Last of Us 2 and getting rid of my PlayStation 4. I mean, my Xbox. Yeah, seriously, I'm like, since I rebuilt this PC, I have no desire to even, exclusives be damned. I just have no desire to play on any of those 2 particular consoles. Now, don't get me wrong, my other ones, the PlayStation 3, all the other ones I have, I still feel, compelled to play them and I have fun with them, but especially the Xbox, it's like, what is it doing here at this point? Like I had to redo my actual Windows 10. So when I did that, my my Xbox account actually started working on a new operating system. So now I got, my Xbox Ultimate Game Pass on my PC. So I'm looking at the play, and there's nothing against the actual consoles itself. I think they're great, but I just think when I look at my other consoles, these 2 consoles, like I said before, prior to us, really talking about this, I said this on the other episode. Like, I don't even look at these 2 consoles as consoles. They don't feel. I don't feel that they have an identity, unlike their prior consoles. Like, these just look like boxes, plain boxes that are with a PC mechanism in them. It just don't feel like the other ones I have. So it's like I don't feel attached to them like I have the other ones. So once The Last of Us 2 come out, I'm gonna probably stream that, beat that, and might just trade it in. I mean, King David, me and him talked about that on Twitter. It's like I just don't. So I don't know. Maybe it'll change, but right now I'm with you as well, Bills. Like the games, I see where you come from with the games, but I don't see where where I'm just gonna stop gaming. I just don't see gaming in the future as far as consoles goes. I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but there's nothing there to pull me and keep me wanting to spend $400, $500, $600 on another box. I just don't see it.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's like, I feel like I play video games at a time where I could be doing something more productive. And by going cold turkey on it, it's really a challenge for myself because I haven't ever gone a long period of time without playing video games. So if I could do that, then that's just another challenge I knock down. And I can always come back to it. But it's just, it's a challenge. And I have a lot that I could accomplish early on this year without, having anything holding me back and taking up my time. So that's really the main thing for me.
Right, right. I understand that. What's up with you, DJ? How you been this past
Couple of
holiday?
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually happy. I don't know if I said this the last time, but I was happy that my ear blockage cleared up, so I can hear out both ears just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started up a new workout program. I actually, it's quite interesting, the workout program that I'm trying to start up. It's more like whatever I feel like doing at that moment is what I do. I I've tried to set up workouts, plan out workouts, and they just like I've done this multiple times throughout this year, last year, and some change. And it's just like, you know what? I don't follow a script. I've never followed a script. I remember when I tried to follow a script in a video I put out, and Bills was like, that shit is not going to work.
I literally told you that like off rip. I'm like, bro, that's not you.
So I'm just going off the script as far. I think that's going to be the key going into 2020. Do not follow the script. Just go with what you want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing at any particular time. So being unpredictable is probably my only New Year's resolution that I have. So there you go.
I mean, I have a couple of personal resolutions that there's no reason to talk about them on here. I mean, it's totally way left from what we do here. But as far as gaming goes, like I'm like really dedicated to the streaming thing, and I'm actually having fun. People on Twitter are actually interested in coming to my streams, and I'm very thankful for that. I didn't know that many people were still it's not a lot, but I didn't know there was that many people still interested in looking at this form of football. And like I've been streaming Modern Warfare 3, and I ran through that game so fast when it first came out on PlayStation 3. I'm actually getting the time to enjoy it, and I mean, I always thought it was a good game, but it's probably like one of the last good Call of Duties, and I'm actually enjoying the campaign on that one. But nevertheless, like I'm all in on that, and my resolution to that is definitely more gaming. It's like, I mean, my schedule now is not as hectic as it was this year. We went to a different schedule, so I'll be off. I'll be off on a little bit more weekends now, so it works out. So I'll be able to do more. And with the streaming schedule I have, it just works out great. I made a good balance for gaming when I don't want to stream, gaming when I do stream. I have a time to make videos, so I can put videos up when I don't stream, and I also have time for baby and wife. So it's working right now, and I hope it stays that way. King David, definitely, he's one of my big contributors to the stream, and he always come through, and he's really enjoying it. Tadal 52 is another one. Super Lion just followed. Keisto 777. It's like I've been getting a good bit of follows within the last 3 or 4 days. It's just been great. So as far as what I want to do is, as far as my personal thing, definitely I'm just gonna be doing more gaming. And, all the other stuff, like I said, it's kind of irrelevant. Maybe I'll talk to you guys about it behind the scenes, but I mean, it's nothing drastic like, oh my God, he's losing weight. No, it's nothing like that. But 2019, what's been going actually what's been going on, but what has happened, what has surprised us, what has disappointed us, what has been expected. That's pretty much what we're going to do with the year in review. Last year B Fife was here, and we haven't seen B Fife in about a month. I hope he's okay.
I figured he'd be back by now with San Francisco having the #1 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, you would think, right? But he was with us on that episode, 2018 in review, but 2019 he's not here, so hopefully he's fine. So
maybe we may wind up getting NYK. I don't know. Maybe he'll just pop up out of nowhere like he usually does.
Well, I don't even look forward to it. If it happens, it happens. But anyway,
not like he's going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go first. Like, I guess we'll start off with what has definitely disappointed us in 2019. Really, I have two, and I don't think you guys really know this person, but I'm gonna just put it out there anyway. Bob DeBest, he's the offensive coordinator for Georgia Southern. He was able to run an offense that went really well in 2018 and basically started calling bullshit plays that didn't work in 2019. And it cost us at least 2 games this year for Georgia Southern where we end up being 7-6. We could have easily been 9-4. And we could have won our bowl game if we would have just ran the plays that work for us and works against a defense that's not prepared for an offense like us. It's really disappointing to finish 7-6 and didn't win our bowl. I always expect at least 8 wins, 8 wins and a bowl win when it comes to Georgia Southern. When it was an FCS, I wanted us to be at least in the playoffs. So it was really disappointing, especially after the year we had last year when we went 10-3 and won a bowl game. It was like that is Georgia Southern football. We really smash mouth. We run the ball. We mix it up with the pass, and our legacy has just always been winning games that way. And we've done it for over, since the 80s. So I don't know what they're going to do. They decided to keep him on board for next year, and I like the recruiting class coming in, but I mean, we just can't be running option dives up the middle 3 times in a row. We have to do something different, especially with the talent that we have. The second thing that disappointed me is really is just the Falcons. I mean, they finally showed what they were capable of on the back end of the season, and the first part of the season was just abysmal. I mean, if you looked at the defense was horrible, and it really was disappointing. It was disappointing because they had all the talent in the world to be where the Saints are right now. I mean, you see what they did to the Saints in New Orleans. Then when they actually decided to play football, they shut them out without even them scoring a touchdown at home. That's very hard to do against the Saints. So the team has the talent, but and that's another thing. They keep the coach again. I don't know. Maybe it'll be another 7-9 for 2020. And I'll be sitting right here talking about this again. So those are my 2 things that has been disappointing to me in 2019. I guess I'll let DJ go. What are your 2 things?
My 2 disappointments. Pretty much the Washington Redskins. It's in a way it's kind of automatic, and it's just the continuation of what 2018 was, 2017, and even a whole freaking 2 decades prior to this year. So it's just like they've been a disappointment, and I hope for 2020 that with the hiring of Ron Rivera as the head coach, they now have Jack Del Rio's defensive coordinator. And it looks like Daniel Snyder is just cleaning house. He's trying to find out who the leaks are in the organization. So he's like fooling people left and right. I hope that 2020 for the Redskins is way more competitive than it was for the 2010s and for the 2000s, ever since Daniel Snyder took over.
Right.
Second disappointment. Honestly, I had a lot more to be happy about in DC sports, but if I wanted to say a second disappointment was pretty much the Caps getting beat in the first round by Carolina, with the chance to defend their Stanley Cup championship. They lose in a heartbreaking loss, and I think it was Game 7 against the Hurricanes. So I was disappointed that they weren't able to defend their title. And of course, still congratulations to the St. Louis Blues who won a Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time, just like we did the prior year. Mm-hmm. So I definitely expect better things from the Caps going into 2020. They look like they're doing good. They lost earlier today, but New Year's Eve, no one really cares at this point. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. What about you, DJ? I mean, damn. What about you, Bill?
I mean, I don't have money because I don't really have expectations for these teams. Like,
I mean, it doesn't have to, players. It doesn't have to be necessarily sports,
Like, what caught you?
What disappointed you? I mean, even in gaming, it's like.
I mean, well, here's one disappointment I can say. I can say the NFL overall. Now, the reason I say that is not, and it's not even because of like the quality of football that we saw from the teams, but more so just the fact that this league continues to be plagued by shitty officiating and, to me, clear rigging in certain situations. And these refereeing mistakes have really just turned seasons on top of their heads.
This is not just an NFL issue. You do know,
and it's not just an NFL issue either.
You know, my Georgia Southern Eagles got flagged for just dancing at the end of the third quarter.
There was that, but then the call that got the cornerback ejected in the Clemson game was another one.
Right,
that was like a complete. You know what I'm saying? So I could just say
the non-catch.
The non-catch, I could say in sports in general, 2019 has been a disappointment. You could point to the Lions and Packers game.
Yeah, the Packers should have lost that game.
You could point to last season when the Patriots were basically down against the Jaguars 14-3 in a bullshit pass interference call, basically kept them in the game until halftime. And then the second half, the Jaguars came out lethargic, and it's just so many things with these referees, man. I don't even have to mention the Saints one. I mean, come on. So
yeah, I mean, matter of fact, that wasn't 2019, wasn't it?
That was it. It was
January
2019, late January.
Right. Okay. And not only that, this is to top it all off. I mean, the fact that they changed the rules because of what happened to the Saints, and that rule itself is not been implemented well at all. It's been it's been terrible. So that's another thing that's a disappointment. Like, they can't even. There's no way they could have got that right anyway. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's like rules.
Thank you, Saints fans.
Yeah, so it's like sports rules and how they are enforced is like my disappointment in general for 2019. And then the other one, honestly, I'm going to say sports fans. I can't remember a worst year as far as like just looking at these fans that are either getting out of pocket at these football or basketball games, or just the stupid shit they say on the internet where they just get so fucking homerish and just stupid. This has been a huge year for that. And it's even fleshed all the way over to the fucking on-air personalities of these shows for sports. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So that's another disappointment. I was thinking, well, it's 2019. Maybe people will wake the fuck up. But that didn't happen.
I get fans. I understand why they're dumb. I get it. So you just have your average Joe that goes to work. He wakes up on a Saturday or Sunday, and he's so passionate about his team, so passionate to the point where something happens, he'll say something stupid, and that'll trickle on after the game where he may still continue to say something stupid, and that trickles out the other way. I get it. Fans aren't, but what really bothers me is these analysts. Now, I'm with you on that 100%. Yeah. It's like they're trying to make that mantra of, I want to be like that fan that trolls the crowd to get attention. And they say some of the stupid, like Rick Kamala, for instance. Kamala tried to, what he said about Andrew Luck.
About Andrew Luck, about him quitting.
Right. Stuff like that. It's too many analysts are trying to get that over-the-top hot take just to try to, get everybody, looking at them in a different light, so they can always go back to that person, or just to get that clout or attention.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, look Look at all the situations in 2019 we saw with fans. We saw Westbrook shove a fan. We saw another fan get out of pocket in Utah, and he threatened to beat him and his wife's ass. We had IT going to the stands. We had a Redskins player fight a fan.
Wasn't there another incident that happened just not too long ago with a fan?
Yeah, IT.
Yeah, that was IT.
Oh, that was IT. Okay.
And it wasn't really much of an incident. It was just the fact that he went up to the stands because the fan was calling.
Yeah,
was basically mad because he didn't miss the second free throw. He would have won a Frosty. I'm like, even when IT explained it, if you watch the video, it even seemed like it could be a Dave Chappelle sketch. The way he told it and the way he sold the punchline of it.
So it's like, so, you know, to King David's point, even though you didn't follow me back on Twitter, but it's all good. To King David's point, the outrage culture, and it's with the athletes too, because you know you got the athletes who get bullshit calls all week, and then they get to the Saturday game and they're not getting their calls. James Harden, and you know they turn into, oh, I guess the league's just against me, and it's all just bullshit, bro. It's just over emotional. Don't know where your fucking place is. Just bullshit. That's really what it comes down to. I can't remember a time where there were more altercations with fans and players, or fans and entertainers in general. I mean, it's just, that was my disappointment. That and just the way the rules were enforced. Nothing really on the field, or on the court. It's just like
I agree.
Off the court.
Yeah, I think on the field, you know, even with the can't touch receivers, can't touch quarterback rules in place in football, you still got quality football in both college and NFL. I think the quality of the game it turned out to be really good. But basketball, I think the quality is going down a bit, but it's still decent basketball to watch. So
I would say for me personally, the NBA hasn't brought anything to me yet that's like, that was so insulting that I can't watch this shit anymore. But that penalty in that Texans and Ravens game, I was like, bro, I got to take a break.
No, I mean,
that was fucking agreed. Now, of course, the NBA is probably saving all their bullshit up for the playoffs. We already know this, but it's just I
think the problem with the NBA, I think the NBA is just the way that the offense is structured now. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes the game overall somewhat unwatchable. I mean, the quality is there. Like, you see the talent. Players are doing what they have to do to show off their talent, and they're playing basketball the way they know how. But I just think that behind the scenes, the way it's structured, just like throw up threes, ISO ball, nobody's really moving the ball. It's starting to show with the ratings. Like, some people are like, okay, I need to see something more than just throwing up shots all the time.
Well, the thing is about it, I think there are only a couple teams that are really like victims of that. The more I watch, because I have League Pass, so I watch so much basketball now. It's like, it's crazy. But yeah, there are only really a couple teams that are victims of, not victims, but I should say that are, you know, actual offenders of literally just like, what the fuck are you doing with that shot selection?
Right.
I think, you know, the Rockets are like, you know, James Harden missed 20-something threes in a game. You know, and then you have the teams like the Hawks can jack them up.
Yeah, they can.
The Suns, every now and then, they get a little trigger happy. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think the brand of basketball, it seems like so many more players in the league are just skilled now. It's like, it's such a more pleasing game to watch, like, to the eye, especially when you start breaking down like the way defenders are, you know, funneling guys to certain spots on the floor and all the help defense principles that they have now. It's really interesting. It's not that football is bad. It's just the referees make it unwatchable. The rule changes make it unwatchable at times.
Right. The referees are really ruining football. Like, I ain't gonna say they're ruining football overall, but they're getting a little bit way too involved.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of the guys' chat. What they put in the chat, because some people put in a pretty good things that we could talk about. First of all, we can look at King David, and I know Bill's got something to say about this. So the Jags disappointed me greatly. I don't hate bringing Marone and Caldwell back. I do think Coughlin was the big problem.
Fuck that guy.
I mean, the Jaguars the front office just been abysmal this year. I don't.
Tom Coughlin can suck a dick. Fuck him. Matter of fact, he needs to go crawl in a corner and fucking croak. Sorry, he's such an asshole. Like, I'm still on this. You fined Leonard Fournette $100K because he was inactive and sitting on the fucking bench.
Hey, they gotta pay for AEW somehow.
Yeah, okay. That their owner shits out money every morning. He's just fine. But no, it's like Tom Coughlin's been a cunt, and no player that's played for him has ever had anything good to say about him. He's a fucking asshole. I can't say I'm glad he got fucking shit canned.
All right. This Ravens Nation also said there's too many rules today that has nothing to do with the actual game itself. That can go for both sides, NBA and NFL. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely hate the fact because looking at some of the old footage, you look at like wide receivers getting jacked up at the line and, you know, all the physicality. And it's just like you look at today's game and it's just like people are trying to avoid hits and they get hurt trying to avoid hits and they wind up hitting people in places that are more vulnerable than where they were hitting back in the day. So
this is the thing. I get that part about them avoiding hits and don't want to get hit and don't want to be like severely injured. But I don't like the fact that they kind of took away the jamming at the line. There's like that. I like that kind of physicality because it showed you what type of receiver you have. If you have a receiver like nowadays, if you have like a corner that really could jam a receiver, you can literally take a receiver out of the game nowadays because receivers aren't built like that no more.
See, in my opinion, like we all three of us play football, and I think we can all agree there are two ways you get hurt or make yourself more susceptible to being hurt in the football field. One, you hesitate, and two, you go half speed.
Yep.
So these days, with all these different rules for point of contact and where you can hit guys, I think guys are getting hurt a lot more because they're hesitant. They're not just running through the target the way we were taught anymore. Now you can't do that. So I think that's really the issue when you look at all these injuries, man.
And the thing about it is, even if you run through the target at the spots where they tell you can hit, you still get flagged for that at times.
Well, and also for the fact that you have players like you aim for the target, but the player that you're targeting lowers his head. His head gets involved, and it's like, okay,
the defensive guy fought all of a sudden.
The defensive guy already committed to a target, which was his chest. Guy lowers his head to brace for the hit, just like all players do when they're about to get hit. It's just like I always stated that that the referees and the rules need to look at intent. Like if you lower your head to show the crown of your helmet, that's already in the rule books.
Right.
So that's called spearing. They didn't need to create any other rules. Just say spearing. He's out of the game or whatever. But I would take it to college. I think they need to stop ejecting kids on the first sign of it. They need to give them it's like they give the NFL players a chance on unsportsmanlike conduct. They do it one time, it's a warning. They need to do the same thing with the kids, just to, in college. If they get hit with targeting, just be like, look, you do that again, you're gone. Instead of right out the gate.
I think more importantly, they need to better define what targeting is because based on the definition that they're giving, it doesn't make much sense on a football field. Everybody that has the ball is a fucking target.
Should be based on intent.
Yeah,
lowering of the head.
I mean, it's like obviously, like with targeting, you know when it's one of those rules that you know when you see it.
Yeah, of course.
It's like because what they're trying to do is they're trying to know when you see it, plus actually be letter of the laws. Like that's why you get some of these plays that look like targeting when they're not, because they're trying to go to the letter of the law, as well as when you see it. Like when you see it and you see a guy hits, use his shoulder. But the way the guy reacts, you want to throw a flag, but y'all know what it looks like.
But see, that's the issue is the NFL picks and chooses when they want to use discretion. They want to do targeting and, ejecting somebody from the game as letter of the law when that should be discretionary. And then other shit that should be letter of the law, they make discretionary. It's backwards.
And plus on top of that, they tell their officials, if you don't know, just throw the flag. Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry.
I mean, I get it, but when it comes to targeting, that's the problem. And on top of that, why you don't see that? Well, I digress because you see that a lot in pass interference. Never mind. No, you see when in doubt, throw the flag. You see that a lot in pass interference.
Yep. Well, now they can correct it, but like you
right.
said earlier, they just have it poorly implemented.
Yeah, they got to implement it so bad that it does not need to come back for next year. They
need. This is how.
They honestly, need to just leave it the way it was.
No, this is how you fix it. Make it a challengeable offense, but only if it's called. If the referee calls for pass interference, the opposing team
that it wasn't.
But see,
exactly that should be it.
I can see that in a compromise situation, but my thing was pass interference. The call pass interference itself was really never a problem. It was just that one play in the Saints game that made it a problem. Because overall, we could see some tit for tat. We could see somebody hooking the arm. We could see something like, oh, they should have called that, but they didn't. But you never see nothing outlandishly blatant like that call was. And that one call made it seem like all PI calls was like that. And that's the problem. Oh, I'm trying to see if anybody else. Ravens Nation said that all you have to do is stop watching sports shows. Watch Skip.
It's not true.
Yeah, Skip and Shannon is just as bad.
But it's not even that. It's the fact that if you're scrolling through YouTube, you still see the shit. It's not like you can avoid
Twitter,
it.
Same thing. Matter of fact, right now, what's going on with the Redskins? A lot of the media surrounding it, trying to cover what's going on there. A lot of people being exposed. Pro Football.
Mike has
whatever his name is. He's getting exposed now because they've been reporting that one guy got fired when in fact the dude wasn't fired, and it was a false source that he went with. Another guy, local media guy, I forgot the other guy's name, and he got exposed. So yeah,
this is my issue with these sports shows. Most of them are one track. It's either LeBron or it's Cowboys. Now, what I will give Ravens Nation credit for, because with Skip and Shannon, when they do have a serious topic to talk about, you can get some knowledge from those two. Unlike, First Take is like First Take is kind of like leaning towards the I'm the woke, stay woke crowd. But with Undisputed, you get both sides from the story to where it's like you feel like you're getting an honest opinion from the two. Like Skip is going to tell you how he feels, Shannon's going to tell you how he feels, and that's where it is. But you can look and tell, like when you watch First Take, like with the Kaepernick situation or any other situation like that, you can tell when they're trying to cater to, like pop culture or social media, because they try to use that. They try to use what the vibe, or they're trying to tell you what the tone of social media is, and they try to bring that into First Take. It's not like that with Undisputed, and that's one thing I will give Ravens Nation a leg up on. But overall, watching them, I'm not going to say it's only First Take and Undisputed. There's other ones to watch that are actually good.
But it's not even just the debate shows. It goes further than that. It's just analysts in general. You can watch college football live. You can watch NFL live. You can watch any of them. It's just a lot of stupid shit being said with a bunch of agendas behind it. And it goes to Twitter. It goes to any outlet that you can find it. It's bullshit. And it's annoying.
I could second that whole agenda that Bill's just mentioned, because you look at commentators while they're commentating the game, they don't tell you, like, you clearly see all aspects of the play, but they only tell you the ones that they want you to, like, if someone was just listening to it, someone would think that a play happened a certain way, but if you're watching the game and listening to them, it was like you're both watching the same play and have two different takes on how that play went about. And it's just like, why don't you just call the game that's being played on the field, acknowledge that the guy lowered his head, so he shouldn't have been flagged. Those type of situations.
And I'll give you an even better example. This is shit that I've noticed like for years. And I don't know if you guys notice this. You ever notice when you're watching like a basketball game and they're commentating, and like a player who's not a superstar misses a shot, it might clang off the rim, and they're like, oh, that guy missed really bad. Now let LeBron or Stephen Curry hit the rim. Oh, just barely. He's off tonight. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
It's an agenda. It's all agendas, bro.
Yeah,
It's all propaganda.
And then it kind of plays out with the players because that in that same token, LeBron, what was it against the Clippers? He was like everything was fine until I got kneed in the groin. I'm like,
I'm not going. You know what? I'm not going to go there with that one. That LeBron should have just.
I was just like,
LeBron,
dude,
that was a bad look on LeBron.
Because that was to me that was like that was the regular season. But when he had that thing where after he lost the NBA Finals and he came out with like he broke his hand. I was like, come on, really?
I think there was a lot more that LeBron could have pointed to without saying the groin that would have been a legitimate it could have been a legitimate gripe, but he talked about the groin. It's like you could talk about the refs and their bullshit, but
right. See, that's when I saw that, I was like, I didn't even, because even if we did a episode between our last one and that, I really wouldn't want to talk about it because it's just to me, I was just like, LeBron, you're better than that. You're much better than that. And I would have just left it at that. You know,
and that's funny because that's the expectation I've always held him to. I remember I did a video way back when he was on the Miami Heat, that first finals they went to, and how he just disappeared. And it's just like, look, I don't expect this man to disappear in the big moments, but that's what he was doing back then. Right. And then that all changed, and you don't hear me talking about him disappearing.
Right. Because I mean, to be honest with you, like he was. If he never bounced back from that, that would have been like a catastrophic career ender, in my opinion. But he did what he did. And me personally, I felt like the championship in Cleveland is a defining moment in my eyes for him overall. But I think that'll be another discussion for another day.
Well, he did promise him that, so he was able to fulfill it on the second trip around.
When he came back and did that, I think that was a really, that for me put him up there with amongst the greats, because that's something that's bigger than just what you're doing on the court. You really made an impact in people's lives on the court and off the court. And I think that's when you look at sports and some of the GOATs, you really have to look at stuff like that. It's not just a James Harden situation where you're just putting up a bunch of stats and, oh, I'm the greatest, look at all these numbers. Well, fuck, nobody cares about you, to be honest. It's like we just see you play basketball. What have you done to transcend and change the game? But like I said, I think that's just another discussion for another day.
I have a question. We can get obviously into the year in review, but I also want to do a little bit of I have a couple questions about this decade, as it stands too when we get to that. So
okay, let's jump to the next one because we said what disappointed us. We said we could do the next one is what we thought is as expected. I'm not gonna go first this time. You guys can pick which one if y'all want to go first.
I'll go first. Well, they're two easy ones.
No. Oh, wait. The rules. No fanboyism. Because I know
Hold up. No. Because you got in your disappointments, and one of them was about your Georgia Southern Eagles and your Atlanta Falcons. No, we're disregarding that rule.
But let's be authentic, though.
I am being authentic.
When you said you expected, and I'm going to say, those championships that came, are they honestly expected, or you thought they was expected like when it was about to happen?
I did not expect them to win. I didn't expect nobody thought the Nationals nor the Mystics were going to win a title this year.
Okay.
Nobody.
You can go there. You can go ahead.
Damn.
You go.
Jesus Christ. Just because Atlanta hasn't won anything in decades doesn't mean.
Oh, here we go.
That has nothing to do with the other.
Apparently, because you was trying to sense you knew where I was going.
Go ahead, DJ.
Anyway, so you had the Mystics bring home a championship. So it was the first of two championships that were brought home by a DC team, in which the second team, clearly out of nowhere, the Nationals taking on the Houston Astros and their championship win in Game 7 in dramatic fashion, even though the score was 6-2, and which exposed the Astros for being that game didn't expose them for being cheaters, but people started looking at them and was like, wait a minute. What happened in 2017? Oh, they were cheating in 2017. Well, they were also cheating this year too. So, hey, cheaters never win. That lesson still plays on. Those are my two.
I would say the first one was my prediction about the Warriors dynasty pretty much being over.
Yeah, but what's it going to be over in this fashion though?
Of course.
Come on now.
The
Like,
way they were
everybody got hurt.
dropping like flies,
Look, you can
that's
go
Bills
back.
was going to be
now.
right on this
You
one.
can go back and look at what I was saying about him.
I'm here with you eye to eye. Now, I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been over, but who predicted the boys would fall off like that? Like, everybody just got hurt.
Did. Here's what I was saying, and you could probably go back and find it on Facebook. What I was saying was similar to the Pistons in the 90s. When you go that deep in the playoffs that many times, that many years in a row, you got guys that are their egos are starting to get boosted, something crazy. You got the Draymond and KD fight, which happened sometime around the beginning of this past year.
So yeah.
I knew it was imploding. I knew KD wasn't coming back, but more importantly, I knew the dynasty was over.
I feel you on that. I felt like the dynasty was going to be done, even when KD was leaving. But like I said, it was.
I told dudes they were going to be historically bad this year. I called it before the season started, but it's preseason. I'm like, okay.
I don't think they'd have been this bad if Steph Curry was still playing.
Is Steph Curry even coming back this year?
Oh, Stephen Curry, he's trying to come back this year, and Clay, he's trying to come back, which I think they both need to sit down and just chill out.
Wait a minute, is Curry's injury to his non-shooting hand that bad? Because he hurt it earlier in the year. Earlier in the season.
I wouldn't be surprised if. I would not be surprised if the way the season's going that they both do sit out.
If they were wise, they would sit out because they don't want to play themselves out of lottery position. Don't play yourself out of lottery position.
And not only that,
be some ultra competitive guys that want to play the season. Now I get it, but bro, come on.
You also got to think on the top of that, they technically don't have much to prove by coming back. Honestly.
They don't. They don't. There were no expectations for them to compete this year other than from them.
Now I could see it. I could see like you never won a championship, or KD was still playing for you, or something along that line. I could see you coming back if you were in contention, but the way that things played out, I mean, just go into 2020 and get ready for October next year. I mean, just I don't see what it is.
But yeah, so the Warriors were one. And honestly, the other one for 2019 that I would say was I expected was I could say that I pretty much expected the Patriots and the Rams to end up in the Super Bowl that past season.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of expected it, but usually the two teams that are the favorites, somehow one figures out a way to not make it.
Yeah, usually number one seeds number one seeds aren't guaranteed to the Super Bowl in most cases in the NFL.
So for both of them to make it was really interesting.
King David stole my thunder, but I'll get to that in a second. He did.
But yeah, so those are my two.
Mine are bothfully. That's a good. Is that a word? I think I should put that in the dictionary.
Those are definitely not a word. I mean, that is definitely not a word. I should say bothfully.
What did you say, Bills?
You said bothfully.
No. What did you say when I said that?
I said those are not a word. I meant that is not a word.
Oh, I thought you made up a word too. I was like,
damn, I'm about to say it. I'm the one that's tipsy.
Bothfully.
Yo, I need to see if I can get that in the Webster Dictionary. Anyway.
No, you're not going to get it.
Shut up. Anyway.
Kill all that.
Anyway, my two are related to gaming.
Bonics and shit.
Mine are related to gaming. As expected, I felt like the Xbox One and the PS4. The PS4 is just going to continuously dominate this year, and not just with sales. I'm just talking about games. I didn't think the Xbox was going to have, even with Gears 5 coming out, which I think is a phenomenal game. You look at all the things that PS4 came out with I think Days Gone came out this year.
Wasn't that good of a game, but it was.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, it was one of those games that the Xbox didn't have, and more people continuously went to gravitate towards the PS4. Even with Resident Evil 2, not too many people talked about the Xbox version, which clearly was the better version. It's like most people gravitated towards the PlayStation. And I think that's more because Resident Evil does feel like it's more at home on a Sony platform. I mean, especially if you grew up with the history of Resident Evil, you're not trying to play Resident Evil with the Xbox 360 or Xbox One controller. It's always been a DualShock, so I can understand that. It's just like all the other games that came out this year, and it just continuously, push the PlayStation 4 up over 100 million units sold. And that was expected. And the other thing, I'm gonna put this up right now. King David put, I don't think y'all can see it in the YouTube chat, but I'm gonna put it up right here. He put, as expected. I ain't gonna say much about Anthem, but definitely Google Stadia. They both died as quickly as arrived. Google Stadia is one of the biggest flops in gaming history, probably worse than the Virtual Boy. And I don't even think you, Bills. I think you were young when the Virtual Boy came out.
I heard of it.
I know DJ was around, and when the Virtual Boy came out, we thought it was so cool. We saw the commercials, and probably like 2 weeks later, we heard nothing about that shit. It was over.
You know what's funny? What was better than that was, not a better flop, but what was a better rendition of something you could do virtual reality wise? This is why Nintendo kind of led the way on this. I forgot, you had the Power Glove, and you had the one where you could you didn't need a glove, you just had this setup, and whatever quadrant you hit would correspond. Like you play Mike Tyson's Punch Out with this.
You talking about the double screen thing with the red and black cross.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of that. Yeah, but you know what though? That was a flop, but that was more of a niche type of device. That's probably why.
But it worked though, because you could use it in Mike Tyson's Punch Out. You could use it in track and field. It was just crazy.
Yeah, because it's like if you ever, I'm pretty sure most people here would know. Like, if you ever want to hear about the history of the Virtual Boy, you can always go to the Gaming Historian. He did a really good job on. It was like the next big thing, and all of a sudden, in like a month later, nobody was talking about it. You can also talk about the 32X. The 32X was about as bad. Even though the 32X came out with quality games, it was just too much to put on a Genesis. It was adding on too much shit. But Google Stadia has to be the worst out of all of them, because nobody's talking about Google Stadia. Nobody's even Google themselves. You don't see the ads on you.
Nope.
That's the thing. You don't even see the ads on their own platform about this anymore. That's how bad it is. I don't know. It's just, I'm trying to think of anything. Anthem. People played Anthem for a while, and it wasn't too bad as a game.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Before you continue, is this supposed to be the moments that you're proud of, not disappointments? Because you're naming.
No, this is as expected. These are
as expected.
Oh.
Yeah. No, yeah, this was as expected. I expected Google Stadia to flop, and I expected the PlayStation 4 to continue to soar. But in my thing, Anthem wasn't that bad of a game. It's just, I just think I don't know what happened to that game, because it didn't seem like a bad game. But Google Stadia has to be the worst flop. I'm trying. I can't think of anything else. But as far as expected, that goes for me. If anybody else got anything really quick, y'all can add to that. In the meantime, we can take this time out to actually go with Bill's assertion, and ask about a couple of things throughout this decade, because not only that the year is over, this entire decade is over. So I'll let you do that real quick, while if anybody in the chat want to talk about what they expected as far as this year.
Yeah, because some of us are moving on to our 5th decade.
I know, right? We're getting up there, bro.
Yeah, I just, like, if you could name 2 or 3 things, like, sports-wise, that you most remember, like, whether it was a trend that started happening or a specific team that was synonymous with their league for the decade, or a player that was synonymous, like, give me just 3 things in general that you would take away from this decade. Because I pretty much have my 3, so I can get y'all going if you want me to throw mine out.
I would like to think, if I'm going to throw one sports thing, and I'm going back to the Capitals, for them winning having the most points and the most wins in this decade, and also having the most President's trophies. Now, they didn't, of course, they only had that one Stanley Cup, but that just, adds on top of it. They had the Stanley Cup in 2018, but to finish number 1 in points, in win points, and number one in wins, I definitely like that. That was good. 2, Madden failed another generation.
Mm-hmm.
That right there, I'm like, the fact that you're starting to see people just literally. I'm like, they're getting their sales. That's can't argue that. But as far as people realizing that this game ain't shit, there are more and more people that are realizing that this game, this generation, has definitely failed, and it's failed again in this decade, like it started failing towards the tail end of the decade prior. So, especially compared to the other games that have deep modes and they have the gameplay to match. And I remember talking to Rex about this. Well, not really directly talking to Rex, but I tweeted something. I was like, the game needs to be more balanced. And I ain't just talking about gameplay first. That could be another disappointment amongst itself, is that those people that led us to believe that gameplay first was the way you had to go obviously don't know what they're talking about. Because if you balance the game out and you have gameplay, you have your modes, and you have your online all prioritized at the same rate, you'll have a good game. But don't unbalance it by like, oh, it has to be gameplay first before anything else. No, gameplay, modes, online, your 1/3, 2/3, and your 3/3 right there.
Right.
That should have been it.
All right, I'm back.
But Madden failing.
I got my son with me, so you might hear him in the background.
Gotcha.
He's a little under the weather today, so you might hear him sneeze a little bit.
I hope he feels better.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. What was the question again?
So just 3 takeaways you have from this from this decade, either sports gaming or sports.
I mean, I'm with DJ with that. It's like you're looking from 2010 to 2019. Like we're talking about what, Madden 09?
Mm-hmm.
Man,
actually no, we're talking. Oh, you're talking about 20.
I'm just saying, if you're looking at the decade of Madden, you said Madden failed. I'm like, you're looking at from 2010 to 2019.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're starting with Madden 09. It was just a bumpy road up and down. Like the game got better. And I'm not talking about anything from prior to Madden 09 to 12. I'm just talking about like this generation. Like you saw things when it got better, then you saw some things when it got worse. And like, it's not even about the game getting bad or is it getting good. It's just that all these changes that happen mid-season, that when you have a good game and then a patch messes something up, and then you have people like Bills who do sliders, you have people who do their own type of adjustments. They constantly have to continuously need to do that. It should never be the case of us doing that. If the game is what it is, make these gamers be, make them adapt to the game instead of you adapting to the gamers.
Yeah, you got people like me that wind up dropping the game and don't even go back to it. Like when I go to play NHL, Madden is right next to it. I just go right past that motherfucker and go to NHL.
This is my thing is like I try to do a Dynasty series on it, and the problem is just that the franchise mode just feels so stale, and they just
it has nothing.
They give them more attention to other modes. And my last draw is when they gave attention to that Superstar KO. It was like, this is a mode that just came in and is getting more attention to a mode that y'all had since y'all were way back on PlayStation 1, probably even further than that. That's when I was done. It's like that right there is just, anybody around here talking about CFM movement and all this other stuff, you just got slapped in the face. Like,
that whole thing is dead. As far as I'm concerned, because it's just like, I don't even see you. Do you even see hashtag CFM movement anywhere? Like, it's not even a thing anymore. You got like people like Shotmaster playing MUT, so it's just like whatever.
Exactly. So I mean, that's one. Two, my takeaway, I do like, and this might sound like an oxymoron what we talked about earlier. I do like the fact that the NFL was somewhat forced to make the game safer, because you had a lot of people who was dealing with CTE and having real problems after football. I do like that change. I mean, I'm not a big fan of just this little touch, quote unquote, touch football on certain players now. But I am more, I am happy that these players are going to be able to actually live their lives outside of the game. And that's my second. The third one, I can just say with gaming in general. I think gaming has gotten better, even with the microtransaction situations. Gaming has gotten more accessible to people because everybody don't have to grow up being like me and having all these damn consoles here to play certain games. Me, I'm just a nerd and a purist, and I like to play these games. But you can go back and play like the Genesis collection on the PlayStation 4. Like right now, they have the Castlevania and the Contra collection on PlayStation 4, or you get a lot of other retro games that we played back in the day, or on PC or Xbox One. I do like that. So now it's more accessible where people can play these games and don't have to be, like me. Now, my thing now is, I mean, not only that, when you look at these mini consoles, people who grew up playing with these consoles, they can buy these little mini consoles for 40, 50, $60, and they can play the games from their childhood. They don't have to worry about going to a retro game store, which, that's my safe haven. I love going there, but you don't have to go there to actually, get those type of games. So I think as far as gaming go, I think this decade has been really well to it because prior to 2010, it was like, look, you had a 360 or OG Xbox or a PS2, and if you had a fat PS3, you were good. But now other games are like way more accessible, especially like with the Switch now. The Switch is bringing back even Dreamcast games on their platform, and I think that is like absolutely great. So, I think those are my three.
So I have five. I was only supposed to have three, but there were two that I kind of had to add. The first one to me, when I think about sports, has to be LeBron James, only because of the transformation we've seen throughout the decade. He came into the decade with a shaky jump shot and honestly shaky confidence, to be honest. He made a move to Miami that wasn't very popular at all, and pretty much the entire world was cheering against him, and he faltered. The very next year, he bounced back. He won a ring. The next year after that, he exercised a demon that had beat him before in 07, swept him even in the Spurs. And then 2014, he made it back. He lost. But then that's when he left Miami, he went to Cleveland, which just created a whole new story for him going back to Cleveland. He got a ring there. Now he's in LA. They're still competing for championships. So just looking at his dominance over the course of this decade, it's amazing to look at. He's had, I believe, 2 MVPs in this decade. He's been first team All NBA damn near every year. Just dominance, honestly, just dominance.
Well, that and being to 8 consecutive championship
appearances, and I think like a good 6 or 7 of those, he pretty much led both sides in all statistical categories. I mean, the list just goes on and on, but just the dominance, you can't really talk about this decade in sports without talking about him. The other person, of course.
What's going on to Dal? I didn't even see him in the chat. What's going on, man? He's another, like I said earlier, he comes to the Twitch stream and hang out. Yeah, what's up, man?
The other guy has to be Tom Brady. Tom Brady, his level of dominance in this era, I mean, 5 Super Bowls. Well, no, 3 Super Bowls. One against Seattle. He had one against Atlanta, and he had the last one against the Rams. So 3 Super Bowls. I think he grabbed a couple MVPs in this decade. Just pure dominance, consistency. Seemed to get better every year. That's with talent and without talent, quite frankly, throughout this decade. There's been years where he has had really no talent. There's been other years where he's had a wealth of talent. So Tom Brady has to be on that list. And then I get to another trend, which was positionless basketball and analytics taking over basketball.
Oh, wow.
Now you barely see any centers, any true centers. I mean, you have 3 or 4 out there, but back in the 80s and even the 90s, every team really had a center they could throw the ball into and he can get a bucket. It's not like that anymore. You damn near don't have power forwards. You got small forwards playing power forwards now. The other thing is analytics taking over basketball, telling teams that the mid-range jump shot is not a good shot to take. That's pretty interesting to me. The fact that, analytics are telling teams, take a three instead of a mid-range jump shot. It's a higher percentage shot. It's just interesting to see how, teams are looking at basketball these days as opposed to how they used to. So that's another one. The fourth one is something that DJ just touched on. Sports gaming sliders and ratings edits matter more than ever right now. I didn't touch sliders when I was a kid. I didn't have to. These games came out balanced and sim. They were made for us. Nowadays, if you wait for these dudes who clearly half the time don't know what the fuck they're doing to make roster edits, you're going to be disappointed. If you wait for them to fix the game that you can see potential in, you're going to be disappointed. So in this day and age where the sim gamer is pretty much, extinct. An afterthought and pretty much going extinct, you really need those sliders and roster edits. So that's another takeaway. And the last one is Aaron Rodgers went this whole decade with one ring.
Damn.
Now, I, for one, did not believe that would happen. I thought that he would at least have another one in this decade. But, I mean, one ring. Now is the beginning of the decade. That's pretty interesting. No doubt he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but just looking at this whole decade, it's like, damn, Aaron Rodgers has one ring for this entire – yeah.
Okay. My son was just like he was beating up with my headset, and all of a sudden I couldn't hear nothing.
Oh no, you good. But yeah, the fact that Aaron Rodgers is pretty much going to make it out of this decade with one ring is, oof, man.
I would like to see the stats.
I'm not surprised about that. I mean, because it's a team sport. I mean, he can throw touchdowns, and if your defense can't do shit, it's not his fault.
No, but it's not it's not an indictment against him. It's just looking at how this decade started. You would think that he would escape this decade with more than one ring. It just seemed like that's how it was trending. Just like I was going to ask you about the Falcons. I am honestly surprised that the Falcons made it out of this decade without a ring, without one. I know you're not, but looking at the talent,
you forgot. We won 14 division titles with the Braves and got one World Series in the 90s.
I feel you, bro.
So I mean, if you're an Atlanta fan, you're used to this.
No,
you can't joke on us about stuff like that.
I know, but it's not even joking. It's just like it's dead serious. Like I'm looking at Atlanta, I'm just like all the talent that the Falcons had. I just thought they would have gotten one, but it's interesting. So
yeah, I mean, let me look at a couple of these. Fire Emblem. It's probably not anyone else's game, but Fire Emblem's comeback. Fire Emblem was close to getting canned in the beginning of this decade, and now the newest one is the best selling in the series. I have never gotten a Fire Emblem. My nephew loves that game, and he talks very highly of it. So I was thought about getting a new one, but I wanted to go back and get a couple of them too. But I don't think it's a game that I would want to get into, but I've heard it was really good. Look at a couple of these other ones. Big disappointment. Ravens Nation said EA ruining every game they touched. I ain't gonna say every game, but probably say about 90%. Battlefield 4 is still the GOAT.
Well, anything that came out of EA that turned out good, obviously it was the studio,
right?
That kept it from the suits. But except for Battlefield 5, that got the suits' attention, and yeah, you saw that happen.
King David also says indie gaming is really taking over this decade, or just smaller studios. Games like Hellblade, Cuphead, and loads of other Bloodstain. There's another great one. Bloodstain is really good. Yeah, I know you agree too, don't you? You gonna make me clap my hands? Okay. All right. Okay. He grabs my thumbs and claps my hands for me now. Yeah. So I think the smaller studios have really, and the thing about smaller studios, I like the smaller studios that actually do 32-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit games on these type of consoles, because now you can really see what they're capable of, because now you can see that the limitations aren't there from a Super Nintendo or a Sega Saturn. Like you have like this really powerful console that can give you the actual full-fledged amount of power with an older game like that. So and I know it's kind of like a overkill, but you get the best of the best when you run a 2D game like that.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to see what else. I don't see anything else. Exactly, Ravens Nation. Falcons not getting one is not a surprise. I agree.
I'm sorry, but if you told me halfway through this decade, with all the talent that the Falcons had, that they were gonna make it out of this decade without a ring to the point where teams that weren't even developed went and skated past them, I'm sorry, but I'm very.
I mean, you're on the outside looking in. I mean, I get it. I get it. Ravens Nation said Escape from Tarkov is made by indie company. If I'm correct, that game is fucking amazing, and I need to get it like ASAP. Escape from Tarkov is an amazing game. And I'm almost getting to the point where I'm thinking it's better than Insurgency. That game is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm following this one guy who uploads gameplay from it, and like the stories that he creates from it is just crazy.
Yeah, I mean the game is really good. It's not on Steam though. You have to go to their website to get it. So that I've been looking for it and I couldn't find it. I had to actually Google it and it's on their website. But I'm definitely feeling that. I'm probably going to get into that. So, but it's a lot to get into. So now what was the last topic we said we were going to do? Our surprises for 2019. Anything surprised any of you guys as far as what has happened this year?
Well, the Nationals one was a surprise.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially the way they like kind of just steamrolled teams. It wasn't even like a oh shit, well we made it out of that one. But it was like a fuck, like they're like steamrolling teams, like it was crazy. So that was definitely one.
You also got to look at the fact that, you know, when they got into the playoffs, they didn't really do anything until like the 7th or 8th inning.
Yeah, it's like they were like, okay, we can play now. You know, it's late in the game. Let's start getting this comeback going. It's almost like they were so good that they had to challenge themselves. And a lot of people just didn't really know how good they were. And so the playoffs came and they just really ramped it up.
Right. I may have only one that surprised. I can't think of too many because
I can't think of one either. I mean, yeah, I can't really think of one.
Because as far as gaming, I don't have anything like real surprises. My son's gonna try to climb down the steps, and I'm gonna have to get him. So DJ, you go.
I was thinking a surprise was Resident Evil 2 to start the year, the remake. I didn't think that game. I played the original and I knew, and that was my all-time favorite game. But I didn't expect RE2 remake to be what it was, and that game to me definitely deserved a nomination. I think it did get a nomination for Game of the Year. Obviously, it wasn't going to win. I knew it wasn't going to win, but as far as like how good the game became, it's just like, damn, you just replaced Resident Evil 2 as my all-time favorite survival horror game.
I think Capcom did an amazing job of remaking that game. They did an excellent job of just putting that game back to where it used to be and just up-resing it and remaking it and remastering it. They did a little bit of everything to it for it to continue to be, for it to end up being a truly a masterpiece. And we all thought that Resident Evil 2 was a masterpiece on PlayStation 1, but this version is just as good, if not, absolutely better. So I can see that being a surprise.
Well,
nobody saw that coming.
Then 1B was all the crying people did with Mr. X.
Oh, that wasn't a surprise to me. I was like, you got gamers out here who cry about other shit.
But here's the thing. It was just that, like, if you played Resident Evil 2, you knew you was going to encounter him, but the way it did it in the original PlayStation version, it was scripted. He would just show up here and boom, if you could run from him or you can shoot him down, and that was it. But in this one, he was a constant presence once you got to a certain part of the game, and it's like you had to deal with it. It was like the game's way of saying you need to hurry the fuck up in these areas. You don't have it as as good as you used to have it. This is a totally different game, and I can only imagine what the Nemesis.
Oh, Nemesis! They think Mr. X is a problem. Nemesis is gonna be a serious problem for them.
This man has a rocket launcher. He may have a rocket launcher. We didn't. The trailer came out for their RE3 remake, and I didn't see a rocket launcher on, but they did.
I'm pretty sure he will. I'm pretty sure he will.
Let's see. I'm thinking number 2 shocker was Toronto beating Golden State.
I'm not gonna say Toronto beating Golden State.
I was shocked by that.
I'm not gonna say that was the shocker, but mine is along the lines of yours. No, I'm gonna let you finish.
But yeah, it was shocking that Toronto beat them in the American Red Cross uniforms. They beat them that way. And it was fitting because the Golden State Warriors players were just dropping like flies. So you need American Red Cross to save the day, and they did. They won a championship out of it.
I have one more after VF.
The only one I have is not just him beating the Warriors, because I mean it wasn't a surprise that he won once I saw all those injuries. My main thing was the way that he led that team through the playoffs, like especially the 76ers.
Oh yeah, he hit that game winner.
That was the big surprise for me throughout 2019, because I didn't think that not only that he was going to be able to do that, but to bring a championship to Toronto. Now, I mean, when I think of other things, I can't really think of nothing else outside of that. That was the biggest shocker to me. That just surprised me the most, because I just did not think that, with his talent and as well as he plays basketball, I didn't think that they were going to pull it off and bring a championship to Toronto. So that was for me. What was the other one you had, Phils?
I was gonna say I was surprised at how much I enjoyed No Man's Sky, because DJ introduced me to it, and of course I was skeptical, but if y'all recommend a game, I'll definitely try it. So when I tried it, I was surprised at how much I liked it. I kind of picked it up at a time where a lot of other games were releasing that I wanted to play, so it didn't get as much play time. But when we did play, especially when we played co-op, it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that was.
I still haven't touched that game yet.
And the timing of it, I'm like, if you would have touched it in 2016, you definitely would have been disappointed.
Yeah,
I still have the live stream from opening day or opening night, and yeah,
that was part of the reason why I picked it up, was when you told me that finally they put all the stuff in the game that was supposed to have been in there a long time ago.
Shoot, now they have their last update was a software app within the game where you can make beats.
Oh wow!
I was just like, what?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is. I mean, you talk about comeback game of the decade. That could be a potential.
Oh yeah, that
gotta be.
Lied his ass off in 2016, and it's just taking it to the bank in 2019.
I mean, like between that and Battlefield 4 comes a distant second. I ain't gonna say close, but distant second, because Battlefield 4 was horrible when it first came out.
If we're talking about a series, you got to say Call of Duty as of late.
I don't know, man. I mean, Modern Warfare is good, but
Modern Warfare.
I ain't gonna say comeback. I ain't gonna say comeback worthy.
Modern Warfare, World War II. Those two have brought that franchise back.
I don't think the franchise ever went anywhere.
Nobody liked
it went
jumping
down.
around games.
Yeah, everybody went down.
I mean, as far as quality,
it was after Infinite Warfare. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, as far as quality or whatever. But I mean, I'll say that's like a distant third, because I mean, to me, Call of Duty's just been ass ever since it came to the PS4, in my opinion. I mean, the PlayStation 3 versions. Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, the Black Ops 1 and 2. That's where it was. I mean, now I'm not saying that these games overall were bad games. It's just that I just don't think it ever got that good.
Modern Warfare 3 was probably fine offline, but online that game was abysmal, and I turned it in within an hour. That game was ass.
I think another shocker to me was how poorly. I'm not gonna say how poorly. How Microsoft poorly handled the Xbox One release,
and that's not just the release, but like
the lead up to it.
But in general, the whole generation has been fucking.
Yeah, I think generation.
You still can't record a video with fucking audio and post it on Twitter.
And then on top of that, it's just like, okay,
Simple
you
shit.
made a position to buy all these studios so they can become first party studios, but you still are not
Oof.
making the games to show off the power of the Xbox One, especially the Xbox One X. There definitely wasn't no power at the Xbox One because PS4 was clearly better than Xbox One. But when you got to the upgraded versions, Xbox One X was clearly better as far as performance than PS4 Pro. So it's just like, people over there in Microsoft at Xbox land trying to figure out, well, why aren't they buying our console? Well, you're not kicking out any fucking games.
Well, it's not only that. You got developers now, even third-party developers. They're not using the power of these consoles. DJ, back in the day when you had different consoles, developers would cater to that particular console. That's why you had same. That's why you had same name, different game. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't they say with Madden there was a graphical difference? Like
yeah, I mean that was like the last time.
Something. Oh yeah, and also
that was like the last time it happened though.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, when it went exclusive to Xbox, they had a different. It had something that was.
But I'm saying that was the last time I really think about it happened, when the 360 and the PS3 came out, and you had APF, you had Madden 08, you also had Red Dead Redemption, you had same game, different. It was same name, different game to an extent, because the 30 frames that Madden 08 was on PS3 was abysmal. And on 360, the game just ran better. Same thing with APF. Like that's the last time but I'm like. Really, like back then, like even with the PlayStation versus Saturn, you had the same game, but you could tell which ones was done differently. Like the 2D games for the Saturn was like amazing, but the 3D games for the Saturn was ass, and vice versa. The PlayStation didn't do as good as Saturn on 2D, but they did really good on 3D. That's why, like, you get Resident Evil 1 for the PlayStation 1 and try to play it on the Saturn, totally different game. Tomb Raider for the Saturn, totally different. But if you turn around and get Mega Man X4 was like the shit on Saturn compared to the PlayStation. NBA Jam Tournament Edition was like the shit on the Saturn, but it wasn't that good on PlayStation. You don't see that anymore. Like with the Xbox One X, we should have seen where, like seriously should have seen where Red Dead Redemption 2 should have been running circles around the PlayStation 4 Pro version. I'm not just talking about, it's just running at 4K, so it's all good. No, you should have saw like really good comparisons where like, oh shit, I need to get an Xbox. You know what I mean? The third-party developers are really the ones that are culprits in this, because the first parties, they do what they do for their consoles. It was always the third-party differentiations that made you want to get that said consoles. I don't care what anybody say. Just go back and look at RoboCop versus Terminator. Go look at Aladdin when Aladdin was on on Super Nintendo versus Genesis. It was just different back then, and no developers do that anymore. Ain't that right, baby? Ain't that right? Yeah, I just left you speechless, didn't I? Yeah, I know. Anything else before we go into 2020?
No.
Nah, that was it.
All right. For 2020, definitely I am actually going to get on the ball. I actually got on the ball with a couple things already. I'm going to expand the podcast to other avenues. I'm gonna have to resubmit for Spotify, and I'm gonna go ahead and go in for Stitcher, Podbeam. I think Podbeam I could do it myself, so I don't have to worry about that. And also I'm gonna try to do Google Podcasts. Google Podcasts similar to iTunes, so I shouldn't have an issue with that. I know. And that's what I'm going with that. Also, if I can get the numbers up, and the numbers are okay on the podcast, and I mean iTunes in, but if I can get more people to watch us live, I really want to start a Patreon, but the Patreon will definitely be for upkeep of the podcast. Other things I want to do is not necessarily these guys here obviously going to get paid, but for my end, it's just going to be more things that I want to do with the podcast, just investing back into First and Frame Rates. So that's what I want to work on as well for 2020 is actually get a Patreon. But I don't want to start a Patreon when I only get, you know, 10, maybe 15 people in the podcast. So that's not on you guys at all. I'll just say we, but mostly me in general, just gonna have to push the podcast a little bit harder so more people can listen.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, we tried this before. I want to do this again. I do want to condense the podcast. Now I know that sounds crazy. Oh, you want us to do a Patreon, but we want to condense the podcast. I want to condense it to a shorter time to where I know you guys will be more engaged and listen, because I know when we get to that 2 hour mark, people eyes get heavy. That 15, that 10, 12 listenership goes down to like 4 and 6, and people have lives, and I understand that. And I look at the analytics as well. A lot of people don't really listen to the last hour or so. Well, I didn't say hour, I say the last. Most people listen to the first hour and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's based on what I've seen in the analytics. And on top of that, I want this podcast to be where anybody who goes to work, they can enjoy their commute. They can listen to the full episode throughout their full commute and don't have to worry about missing anything or having to go back to listen to us later when they get to work or at home or they're on their way back home. Because at some point, you may forget. Once you get to work, you got other things you got to do. You may never get back to that back end of the podcast. And I think that's another reason why when people do listen to the pod, you trying to tell them better than I could? Well, when people do listen to the podcast, not the live side, but when they listen to it afterwards, I think that's another reason why it drops off, because after that first hour, most people would probably take their commute, they go to work, they never get back to the podcast. So with that being said, they're going to be a little bit more structure within the podcast so more people can feel like it's more user friendly to them, so more people could listen. Because like I said, I know it's intimidating when you look at our podcast on YouTube and you see 2 hours and 40 minutes. You're like, oh shit, I'm not listening to all, I got other things to do. I think it'll be more user friendly if you see an hour and 10, or maybe in some cases, depend on, especially with this part of the season about to start out the football, might not be that much to talk about. Maybe you'll see a 45-minute episode. It'll be a lot easier for a lot of people. They don't have to worry about feeling intimidated about listening to the whole 2 hours. So, but like I said, those are the things I want to work on. I may want to do more special podcasts, maybe like on a Sunday, especially because there's no football going to be coming up soon. So it gives us an extra episode, so that kind of compensates for us not being on the whole 2 hours. So I don't know if these guys will be on board. The doors are always open if they do want to come on, like every third or every one Sunday out the month. We'll just do a little extra episode or whatever. So not only that, definitely the clothes, the apparel. I want to do some lanyards with First and Frame Rates on it. A lot of things I want to do. It's just I just haven't been able to get that off the ground. I know I've been saying about the clothes and stuff but this little man right here, he takes up my time. He definitely takes up my money, and I just haven't been able to be creative to actually go and do a deal with us, a couple of stores that I've been talking to actually get that stuff up off the ground. Because I'm not going through Teespring, I'm not going through a third party. Everything's gonna be independently done, so we all three of us can reap the benefits 100% of getting where we get of the revenue that we get on the back end. Because I think Teespring takes out like almost 65%. I'm like, go broke. Yeah, you go broke, man. Yeah, you wonder why Weapon Wheel don't talk about them T-shirts and shit no more. They take out so much. I mean, it's not a knock on them. I mean, because more power to you when you're making moves. But who want to make moves with somebody taking out that much money? I mean, I was told like some people making like these shirts are like $19.99, and they're only getting like $6 off each shirt. I'm like, oh fuck that! I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you would have to go broke trying to, like, not literally go broke, but you have to go for broke to sell a whole bunch of T-shirts just to really, and you still not really making ends meet.
Right. It's like, I'm not doing, like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it where it's going to be all me. I'm going to do it that way. And so these guys that are here on the podcast, they can get the whole benefits of getting, rewarded for you guys opening your pockets to wear our logo out and show other people so more people could come through and listen to us and, download the podcast or subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast avenue you go to. So as far as 2020, that's where that goes. Anything else outside of that, I'm gonna be gaming. I'm pretty sure, DJ's gonna be doing the same thing. Bill's to pull the Apex on us. He don't have any games, so I guess he's just gonna be talking shit on Twitter. So
pretty much.
So it's just like, I want this podcast to expand, and I know I haven't done a good job. My son was born in January of 2019. And to be honest, this is the real big. He's the real big accomplishment of 2019 for me, outside all this other stuff I've been talking about. And it's been a ride with having him and learning how to be a parent and learning with my wife, because we've been working hard to be parents. And to be honest, we're old parents. I mean, I'm 37, my wife is 38, and this is our first child. So it's a ride. So it's just been a lot going on. And I think with 2020, we got this parenting thing down a little bit better, and I'll be able to work on this podcast and, actually make it more than what it is now. I know I've been dropping the ball on promoting it. I haven't been doing everything on that end, but like I said, as far as into 2020, definitely going to be pushing that. So I thank all the listeners. I can't say enough how I thank DJ and Bills who were putting up with the times when I've been late, not doing the podcast, coming up with stupid ideas for the podcast. These guys will roast me, but be patient at the same time. I just can't thank these guys enough. I have the best co-hosts, and I believe that. We roast each other, we talk shit to each other, we curse each other out, but it always comes back to we have respect for each other, and we come back the next episode and do the podcast. So that's far as what I'm trying to do for 2020. I don't have anything else to say about it. The floor is yours for you two, and whatever y'all want to speak on, y'all can go ahead. You sleepy? I know you sleepy. I'll let you go to sleep.
Well, I look at it like this. Like this show's been running, what, 2 years, 3?
Mm-hmm. I'm like, about 3 years.
With a 6-month break in between, and with only you two guys starting it, and then me joining on later. We've been fairly consistent. We've been steadily authentic throughout the whole process. Mm-hmm. I can't think of 2 other people I wouldn't do a show with other than you two. I remember I wanted to start up a podcast at one point, and I had Pooh as my co-host, and that was a one-time thing.
Nothing against Pooh, but man, that's
no. But here's the thing.
It's nothing against what Pooh could be rough on the edges sometimes, though. You know what I mean?
I know, but that when we did that, when we were talking about just one particular topic, I got my shots in, and he never really shot back at me. Which you two guys, I expect if I fire a shot, I expect a whole boatload of bullets are gonna fly in my way, because you guys don't back down, and that's good, because it presents a challenge. We challenge each other, we push each other, and that's the way it should be. And at the end of the day, like you said, VF, it's all about respect, and we respect each other. At the end of the day, we can disagree, agree, we can have fights on air, but at the end of the day, there's not going to be a falling out. We pretty much have guaranteed that there's not going to be a falling out with any of us. Because we know at the end of the day, it's nothing personal.
Right.
So, and also I would take the time to thank the listeners that have been growing with us throughout this whole process. I know. And then also the special guests that have been through, NY Kia, B5, the kid. Remember, he popped up when I was absent at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to get in touch with him. I need to talk to him about something.
That man fell off the face of the earth. I figured he would reappear the moment the Eagles got back in the playoffs. But
yeah, I'm glad you pulled his. You said something. You brought his name. I need to call him. I need to ask him a few things.
So I know looking forward to 2020, I would think we can possibly pull some guests that we probably wouldn't expect us to pull. Like shoot, Rex Dixon is not doing anything currently. He may be doing something. Apparently, there's some good news that I heard from Hollywood Sports, but I'm not.
Now you heard from him.
I threw his name out there because I'm not going with the hidden source.
You're going to cite that source?
I said from the beginning there may be. See, I was cautious about it.
No, I don't know how to say maybe. When it comes to Hollywood Sports, it's like, well, Hollywood Sports said this.
Well, that's what when shit goes down, they'll go at him, not me, because I saw it on his page, not mine. I didn't tweet anything, but
right.
Maybe we can pull some guests like Rex Dixon. Maybe listening to a bunch of these podcasts as of late from David Jaffe, the creator of God of War. This man gets high and starts podcasting. That's the devil. So
I'm with that, but my thing is, if I do that, I don't want to copycat somebody else's what they did already.
You know what? At the end of the day, he's been on like I don't know how many other podcasts. We've reported on stuff that everyone else has talked about. We've already passed that bridge a long time ago.
No, I get what you're saying, but
I'm just talking about getting more guests and maybe drawing more eyes because of the guests.
I got you.
That's all. I'm like, and that's a thing. That's a copy and paste thing. Everyone does it. I'm like, we're trying to do this thing on our own. We're trying to grow. We're good, but we can be better. That's all I'm saying.
I got you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just echoing what y'all two said. I just want to thank everybody that has come through and stayed for pretty much the entire time that we've gone live. It was a process and it was something we just had to take the big step and do. But, everybody that's come in week in, week out, been here, that's dope. In 2020, we're obviously looking to expand. We're obviously looking to grow our audience. We're going to be making some adjustments, but hopefully y'all stick in there with us through all that. And yeah, we're still going to be bringing y'all the same topics, the same honesty, the same realness. And I think 2020 is going to be a big year for more than one reason. I'll just keep it at that.
Yeah, I'm with it too. Chat, anything y'all got? I see Tadal put in the chat. Said sounds good. He says he's excited for you guys in 2020 with the podcast and growth. I really appreciate that. Tadal has been a really big supporter. Shout out to James Thomas. I know Jay Thomas, he's not here today, but he's always been a really good supporter on when we're live. King David, Ravens. I mean, everybody who's here, absolutely. So definitely. So anybody, y'all got anything before we close it out? Y'all want to add anything to the chat? And just let us know, because I think we pretty much closed everything out as far as what we wanted to talk about. Definitely we'll be back here on Thursday with the episode. That's January 2nd. That's something.
Yeah, I know my individual channel has a couple of series going. Like I said, I got my NHL 20 franchise going with the blog and the updates. Oh yeah, that's right. I did put up a blog, so that I'm back in that sort of sense.
Well, that's good. The link is down in the description. You can check those out.
And I still had the Nightmare Edition going for like 3 episodes, technically 4, but 3, and it came to a tragic end. So season 2 I'm preparing that to be like a legacy, like with one of my legacy characters for the next Nightmare mode. But right now, I'm still having fun with State of Decay too. So
what you got, Bill?
Trucking.
Oh, I'm sorry, DJ.
No, you go. Yeah, I was just finishing.
Yeah, just see y'all on the 2nd.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. I know King David will be ready for this. I play FIU in my dynasty for the NC State dynasty, so I'll be looking forward to that.
You know what? Speaking of copy and paste, ever since you started streaming NCAA, where it was 14 or 08, you see other people start streaming. So you started something.
Man, I'm always starting something, because even back in the old virtual footballer channel,
you started something. Hey,
a particular
no
person always, taking things that I did, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, especially Mills.
Right. Like I said,
all of a sudden I got an NCAA 14. I'm like, no, you never did that before.
Right. Like I said, I'm gonna play NC State on Wednesday. I'm gonna probably put up another video. That video is gonna be the practice session for my Oakland Raiders dynasty, and I'm gonna play that game on Friday. So it'll probably be like tomorrow. I'll probably put the video up for tomorrow would be the live stream for the NC State game. Thursday in after probably the morning or the midday, I'll probably put the practice up for the Oakland Raiders game. Practice for the Oakland Raiders game, and we'll do the podcast on Thursday. And Friday, it'll probably be the stream for it. More likely be the stream for the Oakland Raiders. So that's what that's the plan for that. Now Saturday, I'll probably end up finishing Modern Warfare 3 on stream, and I'll probably get to another game on that. I kind of want to do Medal of Honor. It's another shooter that I like. Is either that or I'll probably dwell into another game on PC. So once again, we can't thank you guys enough. 10 guys in here watching. Some people want to poo-poo on that and think that we ain't making numbers, but that's fine. They can continue to hate and watch us incognito mode because they're watching now. But that's another story for another day as well. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope everything works out for you guys. Yes, New Year, just because you may not do resolutions or anything, just take the time to challenge yourself for the new year. It will help. No matter how you feel how insignificant it is, just make a change because you are getting older, and as you get older, you're supposed to get wiser. As you get wiser, you should be able to make a change for yourself and others around you.
Yeah, well, some people get older in this community, and then they just start to suck at Madden even more. So,
not only that, they probably just do the same thing over and over again. But
right, their definition of insanity.
Right.
All right, Colts fans.
Exactly. All right, y'all. We see y'all Thursday.
No
All right, I'm back, right?
Yeah, you made it back.
Yeah, okay, because my son pulled the plug on my head.
He pulled it at the right time.
Yeah, he pulled it too. Yeah, so you can see us back here on Thursday, or you can catch me on Twitch. The link is down in the description. I'll be there doing my NC State Dynasty tomorrow. And until then, guys, see y'all guys next time. Peace.
Peace. And Washington National Mystics champions.